delivers 1-1, and Profar hits a deep drive. Straightaway right. Way back. That goal is history. Jurickson Profar has won the game. A walk-off pinch hit home run. Profar arrives at home plate in a sea of white, and the Rangers have won it 6-5. What a shot!
Walk-off home runs in Cleveland and Texas might allow the Rangers and Indians to walk away with a playoff berth. In the American League wildcard race, 3 teams are fighting for 2 spots, and it looks like it's going to go right down to the wire. We are in Minneapolis. The rain has stopped, and the rain delay is about to end. Game 3 between the Cleveland Indians and the Minnesota Twins. And welcome to Soggy Target Field. Dick Raymer and Eric Harris for today's game between the Indians and the Twins. If you were the manager of a contending ball club, ideally you'd like your team playing its best baseball at the end of the season, and that appears to be exactly what Terry Francona has with his Indians.
Well, the Indians are 19-6 in the month of September. That's the best in all of Major League Baseball. One of the reasons, the offense. In their last 15 games, they're 13-2, but they're averaging 6 runs a game. They're hitting over 300 with runners in scoring position. And if you want to get specific, go to Jason Kipnis. He's been great, and especially against the Minnesota Twins this year. 17 games, he's got 23 RBIs. He's hitting over 400. The Indians keep swinging the bats. They're going to be awfully tough today.
It does look like it's going to go right down to the wire. The Indians can't clinch in the clubhouse here at Target Field today, but they can guarantee with a win today that their season won't end tomorrow.
Comes down. Joe Nathan gets the final out in the 9th, save number 43. The Rangers seem to be pouring it on at the right time. They win 7-4, a half game back of the Rays and the Indians. Dick, Eric, back to you in Minnesota.
And you see the updated standings with the Three teams now all with 90 wins. Cleveland obviously going for win number 91. Tampa Bay is trailing in its game. So this could be a big day for the Cleveland Indians. They could get into the driver's seat, but we've had some weather to deal with in Minneapolis. And for an update on that, we'll bring in Katie with them. Katie?
Well, Dick, I am here in the weather lab at Target Field with Craig Edwards, the on-site meteorologist. And Craig, do you feel like the rain is behind us? Will we be able to get 9 innings in now?
We're rather confident that we're going to get 9 innings in, and as a matter of fact, the weather should be improving as the day goes along, so perhaps some sunshine by the end of the game.
All right, and it's already getting brighter out there right now, so we're ready for baseball down here on the field, Dick.
All right, thank you, Katie. The Twins and Indians, game 3 of the series with Cleveland winning the first 2 games. Take a look at the lineups. The Indian starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moz. Michael Bourne back in the lineup. He missed a few games with a sprained wrist. Then Nick Swisher, Jason Kipnis, Carlos Santana, Michael Brantley as Drupal Cabrera, Jason Giambi, the designated hitter. The catcher again, Yan Gomes, and Mike Aviles.
Well, as we talked about at the top of the show, they've been swinging the bats well. They go against Cole DeVries today. Excuse me, DeVries. Let me get that pronunciation right. Been a little suspect, not a lot of experience, and you look at that 11.7 ERA. He's going to have to be a lot better than that.
Twins starting pitching has not been good again this year. DeVries was supposed to be one of the 5 coming out of spring training. He had some arm issues and has worked his way back. Check out the field defense out in the field for the Minnesota Twins. Josh Willingham in left, Alex Presley in center, Darren Mastroianni in infield with Fluke, Florimon, Dozier, and Colabello. Eric Fryer behind the plate. Clearing skies, cooler temperatures, and hopefully uninterrupted baseball. The opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. DeVries on the mound. He'll face Bourne, Swisher, and Kipnis here in the Cleveland first. Open away, ball 1. DeVries last year made 16 starts for the Twins, went 5-5 with an ERA of 4.11. Takes down and away, and it's 2-0. Bourne, such an important part of the puzzle for Terry Francona. Sprained his right wrist, had problems gripping a bat, has worked his way into the lineup again today. There's a strike on the outside corner. And here's Bourne injuring his wrist on a feet-first slide.
Well, you see, he puts his right hand down to brace himself. You can jam it. That's what he did.
2-2.
I think more important for the Twins than anything today is to try to get a lead, to just hold Cleveland down those first few innings. Last night, Cleveland jumped all over Minnesota right out of the chute.
Twins closing out the season at home. They won the first game coming back against the Tigers. They've lost the 4 games since. Tapper to the right side and a fair ball. Colabello to the bag. And Bourne is retired, 1 away. One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball, encourages you to stay in the game when it comes to health and wellness.
See, and this is what I was talking about, Dick. You see him put his right hand down to brace himself. A lot of guys will wear some sort of wrist. See him grabbing that right there? You can grab a piece or grab something to put around your wrist, and it's almost like a brace. Not good when you jam it right into the ground. Ground is not going to give.
You'll see it often after a runner gets to first base. You'll put it on. And, of course, Bourne was started his journey to second base from home plate. Outside ball 1 to Nick Swisher.
Well, believe it or not, when I played, not known as a base runner, base stealer, I would wear one of those when I got to first, just because it really impacts your ability to swing the bat if you do jam it.
If you heard from a distance that Bourne injured his wrist sliding into second base, you would have assumed a head first slide.
Absolutely.
1-1 to Swisher in his first year with the Indians. Off-speed pitch over for a strike. Swisher leading the team with 21 home runs, but the strength of at least one of them of this Cleveland team is the balance of power through the lineup. Just about everybody in the lineup. In fact, Everybody in the lineup today capable of going deep. One and two to Swisher. Check this swing, 2-2.
Well, you talk about the power throughout the lineup. Nobody has tremendous power, but everybody, as you mentioned, is capable of going deep, and that's why there isn't really an easy part of this lineup to pitch to. Everybody can hurt you in a certain way.
2-2. And an off-speed pitch, a swing and a miss, 2 gone. Larry Vanover calling balls and strikes. And on the bases, Greg Gibson, Brian Gorman, Tony Randazzo. Everybody will have a chance at the plate here. This is a 4-game series, and that's usually good news for the Cleveland Indians. Sweeping a 4-game series is tough, but the Indians have already done it 6 times. 6 4-game sweeps, 3 times against the White Sox. That's incredible.
You don't see that very often. And they're going to need to do it again this weekend. I really believe so. With the other teams that they're competing against, Tampa Bay, Texas, there is not a lot of room for error.
Jason Kipnis has absolutely bludgeoned Twins pitching this year. 83 runs batted in on the season, and 23 of them against the Twins. Toronto leading Tampa Bay in the middle innings of that game, and called strike 1 and 2. Kipnis, an all-star second baseman for the Indians. Up the right side, it'll stay fair. Colabello to the bag. That ends a nifty 1-2-3 inning for Cole DeVries. First inning for Twin starter Cole DeVries. And now the Twin starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Bob's. Alex Presley coming over from the Pirate organization. In the Justin Morneau trade, he will lead off. Brian Dozier, Trevor Plouffe, Ryan Doumit, Josh Willingham, Chris Colabello, Darren Mastroianni, Eric Fryer, and Pedro Florimo.
Not an opposing lineup. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Scott Kazmir gets the ball today. The left-hander's thrown well against Minnesota this year. He's coming off a pretty good start in his last outing against Houston. His job, just don't give him a free pass and pound the strike zone.
An incredible year for Kazmir, who a year ago was pitching finished pitching by this point in independent league baseball. He'll face Alex Presley Dozier and Plouffe in the bottom of the first. Presley, a center fielder by trade, getting a chance in Minnesota he had not been given, nor was he going to be given with the Pittsburgh Pirates with Andrew McCutchen out in center field. He gets a chance to play every day in center field for the Twins, taking strike one, then ball one.
You know, that is one of the things when you are struggling as an organization. Young players will get a look, and they will get an opportunity.
Twins have a lot of issues. One of them is in center field, where Aaron Hicks started the year for the Twins, was sent down to the minor leagues, was not called up in September. So Presley pretty much an everyday center fielder. 2-1. Popped up behind third. Aviles, Cabrera, Brantley, and it is Cabrera almost to the warning track, making the catch one away. And that'll bring up Brian Dozier.
Well, if there's any bright spot for the Twins offensively, minus Joe Mauer, it's Dozier right here. You know, he's been pretty darn good as a second baseman, displaying some power. He's got the 18 home runs. Joe Mauer right there.
Mauer done for the year. He's had concussion issues and won't play anymore this year. Dozier takes up and away, ball one. You can look at Dozier's numbers this year and compare them similarly with Jason Kipnis's numbers a year ago. Kipnis a better base stealer, but both second basemen showing some power. Kipnis has stepped his game up this year, having better numbers than he had last year in his first full year in the bigs. 1-2 to Dozier.
I think anything Dozier has mentioned that he'd like to cut down on the strikeouts. 118 coming into today. Look at the power increase.
And a called third strike, says Larry Vanover. 2 down. It's been a chronic problem for the Twins roster. Not just a team high or historically high number of strikeouts, but a lot of called third strikes.
Well, and again, maybe that isn't a pitch over the plate, but when you've got 2 strikes, you've got to protect. You've got to go up there and be aggressive. And being aggressive doesn't mean you swing at everything, but being aggressive means if that pitch is over the plate and you can drive it, take a hack at it. It's not eyeball practice up there.
2 outs. Plouffe the batter. When you are as far out of contention and as far below the 500 mark as the Twins are, a lot of things can be done quietly. And one of the things that's happened, Trevor Plouffe has put together quietly a much better second half than first half. Batting average creeping up. Seemed like it was stuck in the 230s for the longest time, and now he's got it up into the 250s.
He's been swinging a lot better, especially this month of September, almost a 350 clip. But again, is he a guy, though, that is an everyday player, somebody that can run out there? And again, here it is, the strikeout.
On a call, third strike. A good inning for Scott Kazmir. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. And by Taco Bell, sometimes you gotta live Moss. Dick Raymer and Eric Karras at Target Field, a rain delay of just over 2 hours. Carlos Santana leading off the second against Cole DeVries. The first pitch over for a strike. Santana, the first baseman for the Indians today, and has been DHing a lot as well, catching occasionally. Pulled, foul, 2 strikes.
Santana, a very patient hitter, usually sees a lot of pitches, has drawn over 100 walks.
And of course a switch hitter. He'll be followed by Brantley and then Cabrera. Up high, 1-2.
I say drawing over 100. He's sneaking up to 100, but he's a high on base guy. I think they'd like to see him be a bit more aggressive at the plate. He does have power.
Old foul down the right field line. Santana hasn't caught as much as he has in the past, largely because the Indians have Yan Gomes they acquired from Toronto. And he has emerged as a very good everyday catcher for Cleveland.
Excellent release, quick behind the plate, is thrown out over 40% of would-be base stealers.
1-2 from DeVries. And a check swing, 2-2. Indians with the best record in baseball in the month of September. Trying to get into postseason play for the first time since 2007. Swing and a miss by Santana. DeVries has his second strikeout. The catalyst, at least over the last week or so, for the Indians has been Michael Brantley.
Well, he really has. I mean, last night was the anomaly. He didn't get 3 hits. He'd gone a stretch where he had 4 consecutive games of 3 hits or more. Driving in runs, hitting in every order, every spot, I should say, in the lineup. I was talking to Jason Giambi prior to the game. I said, if you need a base hit, you need to drive in a run. Who do you put up at the plate? He said, this man right here, Mr. Brantley.
And he tomahawks one foul, 1 strike. What's been impressive during Brantley's hot streak, maybe you've been able to notice it from the highlight packet we just showed you, using the whole field. And if the pitch is away, slapping it to left field for a base hit. 1 strike. And now a ball.
Well, talking to Giambi, one of the things he mentioned about Brantley gets that front foot down early, and then he just kind of drives through the ball. Again, it probably sacrifices some of his power, but he becomes a more complete hitter, as you just mentioned, Dick, uses the whole field.
Breaking ball snaps over the outside corner, 1-2. DeVries from Minnesota, the University of Minnesota, an undrafted player, worked his way through and paid his dues, made his major league debut last year. 2-2. St. Louis Park, Minnesota, a western suburb of Minneapolis. Two and 2 to Brantley. Cabrera will hit next. The breaking ball, and DeVries, like all the other Twins starting pitchers, have pitched to contact pitcher, but he's already picked up 3 strikeouts.
Man, done a nice job early on.
Here are the 4 keys to the game.
Well, very simple for the Indians. What they've done the last couple of days is they get out to an early lead, and they really take the Twins out of the ball game. Twins have come back, but just not far enough. The Twins give us 5, and that's really an ode to the starting pitching. 12 times this month, only 12 times, the pitchers, they failed to get past the 5th inning. I mean, you've got it. Your starter has to go more than that.
And that's the most modest of expectations. At least 5.
Give me
You'd
5.
like 7. You'd take 6. But to not even go 5 as many times as the Twin starters have failed to go for. 1 strike to Asdrubal Cabrera. That is chopped foul. 2 strikes. Give you some idea about the Twins starting pitching, and it's been a season-long issue. Only 1 Twins starter has thrown a pitch in the 9th inning, and that's Andrew Alvers, and he did that twice, completing 1 game, shutting out the Indians. No Twin starter has struck out more than 7 in a game this year.
It just, nobody's been able to get anything going, and if you ever wonder what the most important thing about baseball is, it's the starting pitching. The Twins are a prime example of when you don't have it, what you got.
1 and 2. Ron Gardenhire would tell you they didn't need a reminder here, but they've been given one in each of the last 3 years. If you don't have starting pitching, you don't have a chance. And that's a big part of Cleveland's turnaround too. Getting Scott Kazmir to contribute the way he has. Corey Kluber, Zach McAllister, and certainly a candidate for comeback player of the year, Ubaldo Jimenez, who will pitch the finale here tomorrow afternoon.
Man, how about the second half he's had? I mean, since the All-Star break, he's among the major league leaders in ERA. Just he's reestablished himself, similar to what he did in Colorado a few years ago.
1 and 2 to Cabrera. Be the 30th pitch of the ball game for Cole DeVries. 2 and 2. And now a full count with Giambi on deck.
Well, we've gone through 5 hitters so far. This is number 6, and it's either been a strikeout or a ground ball to the first baseman. Nobody else has been allowed to play so far today.
Full count. And the 4th swinging strikeout for Cole DeVries through a pair of 1, 2, 3 innings. Sponsored by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Skies are clearing. Sun's trying to break out here in Minneapolis. The Twins trying to end a 4-game losing streak and trying to more successfully play the role of spoiler. And Dolman fouls the first pitch back. It's the third series in a row for the Twins where they have played a contending team. They didn't fare too well in Oakland last weekend. They lost all 4 games. They took 1 of 3 against the Tigers. Oakland clinched on Sunday in the Bay Area. The Tigers ended up clinching after a win here on Wednesday. And now it remains to be seen whether the Indians can clinch a wild card berth tomorrow. They can't do that today anymore. Here's a ball fouled over the Twins dugout.
Again, we talked about the opportunity some of these younger players are getting from Minnesota. What's even better is they're playing really in playoff type games, because the teams that they're playing against need wins, especially this series here against Cleveland. You know, it's not one of those games at the end of September where you're just running out, you're counting down the days, you got the locker packed.
You can see in the top of the 8th inning, it looks like Tampa Bay is going to lose, and if that happens, Cleveland with a win here today would not only take a giant leap forward in the wild card standings, but also in home field advantage for the wild card game. Dolman hooks it foul. And the Indians have played very well at home this year. 51-30 at Progressive Field. And there are some veterans like Swisher and Giambi, but this is still a fairly young and inexperienced lineup. A lineup that one would think would benefit greatly from, especially in that 1-game format, being able to play at home. It strikes out. 3rd straight strikeout for Scott Kazmir. And let's find Katie Witham.
Well, the other guy who could make a case for the AL Comeback Player of the Year, Dick, is Scott Kazmir. You mentioned he played independent ball last year. He only logged 64 innings. He's more than doubled that starting with the Tribe this year. He told me the key to being able to get as deep and feel as strong as he does right now has been the way the Indians have balanced out his starts, from going on regular rest to, at times when he needs it, extended rest.
And they've done that throughout. Thank you, Katie. In this instance, his last start was the 21st of September, so a couple of extra days here for a guy who's had a history of shoulder problems. 1 strike to Josh Willingham. And a ball taken down and away. Last year, when he was pitching for the Sugarland Skeeters, he had a teammate by the name of Roger Clemens, who made a couple of cameo starts for the Independent League. And his manager was former Twin Gary Gaetti, former Gold Glove and All-Star third baseman for the Twins and some other teams. 2-1 to Willingham. He's had some knee issues this year that have really dropped his numbers. Last year, 35 home runs, 110 runs batted in. 2-1. Fouled back 2-2.
You mentioned just really sap the power this year. If you don't have your legs, you know, that's where you get all the drive as a hitter. You got a slugging percentage of .370.
You see it all the time, whether it's an ankle or a knee or something that disrupts a hitter's season. Here's a drive to left field, hanging in the air for Brantley. Short of the track, he hauls it in, out number 2. 2 down in the second. Time now for a Pepsi game break with Greg Amsinger.
Dick, thank you very much. Let's go to Cincinnati. Pirates, Reds, bases loaded in the 8th. This fly ball to center field should get the job done. Chu's going to make the catch. Great play arm, but a run does score. It is 8-3 Pirates. If they hold on and win this game, they will host the NL wildcard game against the Reds on Tuesday night. Dick, Eric, back to you in Minnesota.
Thank you, Greg. As the Indians have played well and now creating a little bit of buzz in Cleveland, how about the Pirates playing at home? First of all, getting to the playoffs for the first time in so long. Here's a ball smashed to left off the bat of Colabello. Maybe in the 10-team playoff field that we'll have, the best story in the National League clearly would be the Pirates, and maybe, if it happens, the best story in the American League might be the Cleveland Indians.
Well, I think those are both ball clubs that they were trendy picks at the beginning of the year, but I'm not so sure that a lot of people really believe that both of these teams would be playing in the postseason this year.
Pirates have had a great year. Cleveland trying to top off the year. We'll be watching both of these ball clubs in October.
There's Darren Mastroianni showing bunt and taking a strike. Vilas was playing halfway back in the skin part of the infield. Kazmir looking for win number 10 on the year. Swing and a miss on the off-speed pitch, 0-2.
Kazmir's really had his way with the Twins coming into today. 25 strikeouts, only 5 walks. Twins not swinging the bat well against him, hitting a little over 200.
2 strikes to Mastroianni. And a swinging strikeout ends the second. 4 strikeouts for Scott Kazmir. Jason Giambi will lead off the third for Cleveland. We'll return to Minneapolis after a word from your local Fox station. Jason Giambi will lead things off. Bottom third of the order for Cleveland. Yan Gomes and Mike Aviles will follow. I had a chance to talk with Terry Francona before the game today, and Francona told us he has never had a player that's had the impact in the clubhouse on the rest of the roster the way that Jason Giambi has had the influence with the Indians this year. When you think some of the great players that Francona managed, first in Philadelphia, but certainly in Boston, that's quite a statement.
Oh, it really is. And look, this is a guy that interviewed for the managerial job this past winter in Colorado. So he obviously brings with him a lot of respect and the experience, the fact that he's been at the top of the game, he's been at the bottom and dealing with things. And he's got a ton of experience.
1-1 to Giambi. Breaking ball, and that curve seems to be getting a lot of swings and misses for DeVries. Already 4 strikeouts and a couple of tap outs to the first baseman Colabello. That's been it. 71 miles per hour just off the corner.
And I know both teams had to sit and wait today, but you see that pitch just outside. Nothing worse, though, being the visiting team and having to come to the ballpark and sit around and wait. Remember, this game was pushed back 2.5 hours.
Skied behind the plate. And a pretty stiff breeze blowing in from right field. They'll push it over the net. Giambi with 9 home runs on the season. 3 of them off the bench, including 2 walk-off home runs against the White Sox. A dramatic one the other night at Progressive Field right after Chris Perez gave the lead up in the top of the ninth to the White Sox by yielding a couple of home runs of his own. 2-2 to Jason Giambi. Another strikeout for Cole DeVries. 5 in a row, or 4 in a row, and a total of 5 so far in the afternoon.
Well, and the thing that is amazing, at least for me, they've all been swinging strikeouts. That's telling me that the Indian hitters are having an awfully tough time either picking up the release point, picking up the rotation. There's something right now that they have not been able to figure out.
And you can see on those replays DeVries' location very sharp here in the early going. He's throwing strikes in the perimeter of the strike zone and not down the middle as the Indians hitters were given last night. Oh, big breaking ball left up high to Gomes. DeVries in his career has struggled early on. He started out great in his first start of the year in Oakland last weekend. He retired the first 5 batters, but then pop up near the plate. Fryer with the catch out number 2. For some reason, DeVries struggled throwing strikes. He walked 3 straight batters, and then the A's, red hot, backed him up with the 4 hits, and before he knew it, DeVries was out of the ball game after 2 innings.
Well, what'll be interesting for me today is this game progresses is the second time around where the Indians hitters have an opportunity to gather some information in their first at bat. You know, what do they do with that second time they see DeVries?
Here's Mike Aviles. Another pop-up is coming back in our direction. 1 strike. And Aviles pops it up behind second base. Lorimo, the shortstop, giving way to Dozier. Another 1-2-3 inning for DeVries and a perfect first trip through the Cleveland batting order. sharp over the last 17 starts, an ERA of just over 3. He will face Eric Fryer, Pedro Florimon, and Alex Presley in the Twins' third. And he delivers ball 1. The Twins have 5 catchers on their September roster, but in reality only 2 can catch. We told you about Joe Mauer, and he won't catch. He's in uniform, but he's done for the year. Ryan Doumit, another catcher, is limited to DH and outfield duties. Rookie Josmiel Pinto last night was hit by a pitch. His season is likely done. Some flared foul into the seats, so the Twins are left with Chris Herman and Eric Fryer, who gets the start in today's game.
Well, you talk about the many catchers on the roster. I think the real interesting question going into the offseason, what is going to happen with that position next year? And obviously the talk, Joe Mauer, do you keep him behind the plate? He says he wants to be there, but if you're the organization, I want Joe Mauer out there for 150 ball games.
2-1 to Fryer. And Mauer, like so many catchers this year, set back because of the concussion. He took a couple of foul balls off his mask in successive innings in the middle of August and hasn't played since. 3-1 to Twins catcher Eric Fryer, and he takes inside. It's a leadoff walk. It was in a makeup game against the New York Mets. This is the one right there off the bat of Ike Davis that really rung the Mauer's bell.
You know, that's why that position is so darn tough. I mean, you take those sort of beatings and you have to go out and produce offensively as well. That's why you marvel at a guy like Joe Mauer.
Here's the number 9 batter, Pedro Florimon. Leadoff walk. Fryer doesn't run particularly well, but the Twins have played from behind so much during this homestand, for that matter, for this year. Be surprised to see Florimon try to bunt Fryer into scoring position. 1 strike after a foul by Florimon. Terry Francona, your first year with the Cleveland Indians to this point couldn't have gone much better than it has.
Well, I wish we were maybe a game or 2 ahead, but I'm enjoying myself. I think it's fairly obvious. I love who I'm doing it with, and the people I work for, I respect a ton, and I like them, and I hope we can accomplish this, you know, as a group. It would really be nice.
Looking at your ball club, contributions from everybody so far today. Scotty Kazmir, talk a little bit about what he has meant to this ball club this year.
Well, he's been an easy guy to root for. I mean, everybody knows he was out of the big leagues for a couple years. He was pitching for the Skeeters last year, and we saw him in spring training and really liked what we saw, but you had to kind of wonder if he'd be able to hold his stuff, and he's been tremendous.
Terry, real quickly, what would it mean for you and the Indians to have home field advantage in the wild card?
We just want to keep playing. We don't want to make anybody send us home until we're ready to go home. So we'll play anywhere. We just want to keep playing.
Terry, you got a fun team to watch. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
And here are the standings in the wild card, with Cleveland an opportunity here today to move on to the top of the list among the 3 teams, although Toronto and Tampa are still playing. Toronto's leading 7-1, and the Rangers have already beaten the Angels. 1-2 to Florimon. Florimon in his first full year in the big leagues, a switch hitting shortstop. See Kazmir and what he's done. Had some rough spots in the month of August, but it's not just Kazmir, it's Jimenez, McAllister, Kluber. Going to miss, and Florimon is down on strikes, 1 away. When the Indians lost Justin Masterson, who is the de facto ace of this Cleveland team, to an oblique injury, I think a lot of people in baseball said, well, that's something the Indians won't be able to overcome. But instead, what's happened, Eric, everybody else in the rotation has pitched better since than they pitched before the injury.
Yeah, everybody had to step up, and you always talk about when somebody goes down, who is going to pick up the slack, and it hasn't just been one guy, it's been the entire starting staff.
Presley takes ball 1.
You know, one of the other things by the rest of the guys getting the experience, having the success, now Masterson is back, and you can do certain things with him. You see Ubaldo Jimenez, look at that, this month 3-0 with a 1 ERA, and he's pitched like a #1 guy,
which of course he was in his prime with the Rockies.
Getting back, we've got Masterson back with the pitchers. He can go a couple innings in the middle of the game. He can close out a game. Very versatile. I mean, similar to, for me, like a Tim Lincecum, the way he was used in the postseason by the San Francisco Giants.
1-0 to Presley. And 2-0. Talked with Terry Francona this morning. We asked him about the bullpen situation at the end of the game. And it is the source of a great discussion in the Cleveland area and intrigue as to how this is going to sort itself out. Terry said he, with Chris Perez all but handing in his resignation as closer after the outing he had here the other night. 2-0 to Presley. The ball slapped to left and a base hit. Fryer will go to second base. Terry Francona said he may have Masterson come back and pitch extended innings in a save situation. Rich Gossage used to do that. Raleigh Fingers used to do that. The Oakland A's have done that this year with Brett Anderson. He's picked up 3 or 4 3-inning saves at the end of the game. He's not starting anymore, but he's pitching like a starter at the end.
And there's no real reason for Terry Francona to declare this guy is my closer. All he needs to do is communicate what he expects to the guys in the bullpen. He doesn't need to tell us, the media, because if he does, then he pigeonholes himself. By not saying anything, allows him a lot of versatility down in that pen.
Brian Dozier, first and second, 1 down. And Dozier takes up high, ball 1. Kazmir trying to pitch out of a jam here. Some of it is his own doing. A leadoff walk to the number 8 batter, Eric Fryer. Now a 1-out single by Presley. The Indian team ERA before the All-Star break was a pedestrian 4.31. Probably not good enough to get you where they are now. Since the All-Star break, they've taken more than a run off their team ERA at 3.20. Strike call, 2-1. That's a rather dramatic turnaround, and it isn't done with just 1 or 2 guys finding something and sticking with it.
Well, as you mentioned, it had something to do with some guys getting healthy, other guys getting opportunities.
The swing, 3-1. They'll appeal, but no swing. 3-1 to Dozier. Trevor Plouffe on deck.
Now this is where Dozier has to be. He has to be patient. You know, the pitcher is the guy in trouble. You're ahead 3-1. Just because it's a strike does not mean you swing at it. You look for something you can drive.
Popped up. Field fly rule should be called. It is. 2 down. That'll bring up Plouffe. Plouffe called out on strikes his first time up. Kazmir coming to the Cleveland organization on the recommendation of their Double-A manager Edwin Rodriguez, who managed Kazmir in winter ball. Francona said they saw him in spring training, but he got to spring training based on his performance last year in winter ball. First and second, 2 down. Hit to center. Playable for Bourne. And Kazmir pitches out of a 3rd inning jam. No score after 3 in Minneapolis. Makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball. And by Fox Sports 1. To find your channel, go to foxsports1.com. With Eric Harris, Dick Bramer at target field, no score. Both starting pitchers pitching very well, and to the surprise of just about everyone, Cole DeVries racking up strikeouts. He's picked up 5 through 3 innings. Michael Bourne, Nick Swisher, and Jason Kipnis to face DeVries here in the 4th.
Well, I think, Dick, this is where it gets fun, because Michael Bourne has already seen DeVries. This is the second time through the Indians lineup to see what adjustments they make.
And a first pitch strike. Kazmir getting his spikes attended to. Bourne takes an off-speed pitch away, 1-1. Fouled away. Bourne such a key component for the Indians. He hasn't gotten his on base as much as he would like, but once he's there, he's a big stolen base thing.
Well, he plays some good defense. He works some good at-bats. You know, again, is he your prototypical leadoff hitter? No, he doesn't get on base a lot. He steals bases, but he's not a high percentage guy. But what he does do is he forces the other team to take notice of him.
1-2. And a called third strike, and for Bourne, the 132nd strikeout of the season. And earlier we talked with Twins manager Ron Gardenhire. Ron Gardenhire, this is your 3rd series against a contending team, and I know one of the frustrations for you, your team hasn't been able to play the spoiler role as well as you would like.
Well, they're getting after it, and you know, we're playing some pretty good baseball teams, and they're where they are for a reason. And you know what? I asked my guys to get after the game. They're doing that. We've come back a couple of times and come close, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to finish the team off yet.
Cole DeVries looking good early right now. What are you seeing?
Well, he's using all of his pitches. You know, he's got some deception. He's got the nice breaking balls going, and spotting his fastball. He's got to keep locating his fastball and working ahead, just like this.
Thanks, Gardy.
All right, boys.
1 down. Nick Swisher at the plate. 1 strike. Swisher went down swinging his first time up. On the line and hooking, foul. 2 strikes. Gardenhire's been stuck at 998 in terms of career wins. They've all been with the Twins. He won the first game of this homestand against the Tigers, and now a 4-game losing streak. He was a coach. The man on the top of the list, Tom Kelly, who won 2 World Series here with the Twins in '87 and '91. 2 strikes to Swisher. Foul ball. It'll reach the seats. Striking out, not an uncommon occurrence for the Cleveland hitters. They have 7 players in on their roster. Most of them are in the lineup that have struck out over 100 times. And now Toronto's beaten Tampa Bay, so the door is wide open for the Indians to take further control of the wild card standings. Breaking ball on the outside corner. And Cole DeVries has another strikeout. No Twins starter has struck out more than 7 batters in a game all year long. DeVries has that in the 4th inning.
As Ron Gardenhire mentioned, he's working a couple different pitches and he's got location. Usually a guy will have, look at the pitches are moving and that sort of stuff, or one day maybe it's just location. We had a combination of the 2. Very tough for the hitter.
Last night in relief, Liam Hendricks pitched 5 innings, and he became the first Twins pitcher to strike out 8 in a game, and that was out of the bullpen. 1-0 to Kipnis. And a strike called. Hendricks, a former starter, moved to the bullpen. Big breaker off the plate. what we've seen from DeVries, and we don't know, of course, how long it's going to last. We might have a tremendous pitcher's duel here between Kazmir and DeVries. Maybe not have the greatest stuff in the world, but if you can change speeds and locate, you got a chance. Look at that pitch, down and away on the black.
Well, you look at the velocity, 88, 89 miles an hour, and that just goes to show you that location is important. But the bottom line is you're just trying to disrupt the hitter's timing. Whether that's a 98 mile an hour fastball or an 88, it's disruption.
Inside. 11 up, 11 down for DeVries so far, and Swisher still can't believe that curve caught the corner.
Well, he went inside to take a look at the video room, and I'm sure he wasn't too pleased with what he saw.
Indians still looking for the first base runner. There it is, a base hit. Clean hit to center, and who else would get it other than Jason Kipnis, hitting over 400 against the Twins this year. A 2-out single here in the fourth. That'll bring up Carlos Santana. These are 19 and 6 in September.
Yeah, they've done what they needed to do. A lot of people talk about the schedule that they've had in September. Playing a lot of teams that are sub 500.
Over the inside corner.
He's just absolutely wearing out corners right now. You know, not missing anything over the middle of the plate. And not only is he hitting corners with fastballs, but he's doing it with his off speed as well.
On strike to Carlos Santana. Katie, Jason Kipnis made the All-Star team this year. He'd be going to Cooperstown if all he faced were Twins pitchers.
Very good. He has been very good against the Twins, but recently he started to get hot again. And Dick, he told me the reason for that, he just ordered a whole new rack of bats, a half-ounce lighter. Now, you may think that doesn't make a big difference, but for him, late in the season, he feels like it's getting him back to what he did in June, which was staying through the ball and going to the opposite field, guys.
Yeah, you know, you talk about an ounce or a half an ounce. As a former hitter, it makes a huge difference. A lot of guys do that. They get near the end of the season, they go to a little lighter bat.
And Santana golfs one deep to right field. It is back and gone. A 2-run home run, and the Indians jump out in front. And Santana enjoyed his second look at Cole DeVries.
Well, and that's what we talked about coming into this inning. It would be the second time around that Indians hitters would see DeVries, and obviously Kipnis and Santana made a big difference. This ball is just a fastball down, and you talk about the type of power that Santana has, and absolutely crushes it. He knows it's gone. It's a man admiring his work right there.
Santana now joining Swisher in the 20 home run club for the Indians. And Brantley takes ball one. Brantley went down swinging his first time up. Pop up near the Cleveland dugout. That's off the roof of the dugout. 1-1. The Indians jumping out in front here, and they've really cleaned up against teams that have not played well over the course of the season. Playing .750 baseball against teams with losing records.
And there's something to be said about a ball club that you can still maintain the intensity. You go out and win the games that you should win. I mean, even this month where they're 19 and 6, they've had 9 games against playoff type teams, teams over 500. They're 4 and 5.
Too short center, jogging in is Presley, and that puts an end to the Cleveland fourth inning. But a 2-out single is backed up by a 2-out home run, and the Indians jump out in front. With a man aboard, first 2 Cleveland hits of the ball game, and it's a 2-0 Indian lead. Ryan Doumit, Josh Willingham, Chris Colabello facing Kazmir in the Twins for strike 1. Doumit struck out swinging his first time up. Liner into center field. Doumit lining sharply into center. The Twins get the leadoff man on for the 2nd inning in a row. Log on to foxsports.com/ace for your chance to win a sports room makeover. Josh Willingham, the batter, hit a fly ball near the warning track in left field. Willingham, a Silver Slugger winner for his offensive output as a left fielder last year. And he grounds a single to left, and the Twins have again started something against Kazmir with a pair of singles.
Well, they had an opportunity last inning where they had 2 runners on. Those are infield fly, and then Plouffe the fly out to center. They come right back here, so it seems like they figured something out with Kazmir. They forced him to get the ball up in the zone. Colabello here, his job, keep the ball off the ground, get something elevated, look to drive it to right center.
Single to left his first time up. Colabello in his 2nd year in the Twins organization. He's a veteran of independent league baseball. 6 years he spent in the independent leagues. Played for former major leaguer Rich Getman. Taken at the knees, a strike. Colabello has struggled at this level, but he was this year the International League Rookie of the Year and MVP. Further underscoring, I guess, the difference between succeeding at AAA and succeeding up here. 1 strike to the Twins' first baseman. And now a ball.
When you hear stories like his, though, you can't help but root for him. There's a guy that's been basically told no, 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 and just continued to believe in himself and battling. Those are the types of guys that you can never count out. Just keeps coming at you.
Colabello very strikeout prone, and like so many Twins hitters, has concluded he needs a better 2-strike approach. He's been lifted foul, and now he'll stand up there with 2 strikes against a strikeout pitcher, Scott Kazmir.
And it sounds kind of crazy, but right now I take the strikeout over the ground ball. And the reason I say I just stay out of that double play. And again, you get in those situations where you have 2 strikes, you got to change your approach a little bit, maybe spread out. It's very tough because it's ego driven. I'm not going to spread out. I'm going to still drive that ball out of the park. Spread out, try and make solid contact, hit a line drive.
1 and 2, and Kazmir, of course, looking for a strikeout. Mastroianni on deck. Colabello 156 at bats and 55 strikeouts.
Yeah, if I'm Kazmir right now, I'm throwing something off the plate. I'm trying to expand the zone, or even if he makes contact, it's going to be tough to hit hard.
Changeup got him, and it's the first out of the inning. Let's go to Greg Amsinger at the MLB Network studios for a game break.
Dick, thank you very much. Let's go to Toronto. Dustin McGowan getting the final out for the Toronto Blue Jays, who are really playing spoiler. Another loss for the Rays. 7-2 the final at Rogers Show. Dick, back to you.
Thank you very much, Greg. I had a chance to listen to John Gibbons in a radio interview yesterday from Toronto. And Gibbons is typically a pretty relaxed guy anyway, but he just seemed like he was really looking forward to this final weekend and a chance to play the spoiler role, and he succeeded twice already. And a big game coming up tomorrow afternoon at the Rogers Center, in a game that Tampa Bay looks like they might have to get into the playoffs. 1 strike to Mastroianni. He struck out his first time up. Things pretty much set over in the National League. And With Pittsburgh beating Cincinnati, that means that they will host the Reds in the wild card game.
Still a lot going on in that National League, though. And when I say that, you've got Atlanta and St. Louis both tied for the best record. One of those teams ends up playing the wild card winner, which is a significant advantage for that ball club. The other one has to go face the Dodgers and go against Kershaw and Greinke.
Yeah. Good luck. Pitches up, 2-1. Kazmir with 55 pitches, 35 strikes. To pitch around another jam here in the 4th inning. Off the plate, 3-1. Eric Fryer on deck.
The home plate umpire Larry Vanover not giving that pitch to Kazmir, that pitch that is away from the right-hander. I've seen that a couple times. It looked like they're over the plate, but he's not giving him the call. Is giving him the pitch inside, though.
Got a couple of called third strikes in there. Swing and a miss, 3-2. Mastroianni was in position to make the club out of spring training as a 4th outfielder. Then he fouled the ball off his left ankle and ended up missing most of the year. One sort of injury or another to his left foot or ankle, and a strikeout here for out number 2.
And that's nothing. He's not trying to be deceptive there or anything. That's just rear back, throw fastball right down the middle. 3-1 and 3-2. Watch his pitch. He wants it outside. That thing is right down the middle. Kazmir displaying that ability that had so many people drooling when he first came up.
Eric Fryer drew a walk leading off the 3rd. And started the inning with a pair of singles, but a pair of strikeouts have followed. It's kind of been the story of the season for Ron Gardenhire and the Twins. Promising games or innings stifled with a lack of clutch hitting, but even a lack of a productive out. Outs that advance runners, maybe score runs. Fryer takes a strike, 1-1.
Well, and that's why strikeouts, you know, people talk nowadays about getting on base, and it doesn't matter if a guy strikes out 150 times or he's got an on base percentage of 350 or 360, that's acceptable. But strikeouts, as you mentioned, completely unproductive. They don't do anything.
To right field, down for a hit. Domet is being waved around. Swisher's throw to the plate, not in time, and it's a 2-1 ball game. Eric Fryer with a 2-out single, and a clutch hit gets the Twins on the board.
Nice job by Fryer, staying within himself, just looking to hit something the other way. Again, it's very easy as a hitter to get up there, and in certain situations you get greedy. You want to hit the 3-run home run. You want to hit the ball off the wall. And the guys that are good and the guys that are successful are the guys that are disciplined enough to know what I need to do here in this certain situation.
The guy has done a great job with his Indian staff. Mickey Callaway, his first year as the major league pitching coach, he was in the Cleveland organization. But that this Indian staff has picked it up to the extent they have in the second half. Got to give the guy in the hoodie an awful lot of credit for that.
Well, and Terry Francona just speaking volumes about the impact that he has made this year on this pitching staff. Said he's a guy, again, that had been in the organization. Terry Francona didn't know him at all. Went through an interview process with certain pitching coaches, and he just wowed him.
Tying run at second, 2 away, and now Pedro Florimo struck out his first time up against Kazmir. Down and in, ball 1. It's with 3 singles and a run in the bottom of the 4th after the Indians got a 2-run home run from Santana in the top of the inning. We saw this here 2 nights ago. Lead or not, 4th, 5th inning doesn't matter. If Terry Francona thinks a starter is struggling and is on the verge of having a rally mushroom against him, he'll go to the bullpen. no problem with numbers out there. We have 16 relief pitchers here in September.
Well, you got to get out there early to get a seat.
Well, Gardner was joking yesterday after the first game of this series, saying the Indians wanted permission to use their bullpen mounds out there in left center field. Florimone swings and misses 1-2.
Florimone, you mentioned, went down his first time up, went down swinging.
Florimone, a switch hitter, and the Twins still believe that his strongest side is the right side. The numbers just simply don't back it up. He's hit better from the left side than the right side. Just 100 bats as a right-handed batter and 18 hits. Fouled away.
Casimir going outside. I'd set up inside right now, just bury him in. Miss a little bit off the plate. Heading to count 1-2.
A whole lot of speed out there on the bases. Willingham, the runner at second, represents the tying run. Florimone chops it wide of first to Coach Scotty Aldridge. Gomes to the mound to talk to Casimir. Santana talking with first base umpire Frank Gibson. Another 1-2 to Florimone. Pulled and a foul ball by inches.
He went inside there, but he went in with the off speed. It just buried him hard with a fastball that Florimone had fought off to first base. This ball, breaking ball, and you see foul ball. Tony Randazzo, nice job.
Vilas reaching for the ball and pointing foul all in one motion as he crosses out. That's right. 1-2. Drive to left center field, chased by Brantley, makes a running catch in the gap. A fine play by Brantley to keep the Indians in front 2-1. Twins, and not more because of a nice play by Michael Brantley. Running to the gap in left center field. Floremont's bid for an extra base hit. An RBI or two. Took it away from him. Asdrubal Cabrera will lead off the fifth for Cleveland. Facing Cole DeVries, who's given up just 2 hits, but they came consecutively. The second one, the home run by Santana. Inside, ball 1. Cabrera, Giambi, and Gomes. Now outside. 2-0. And a strike on the outside corner.
Now you see Brantley hustling after he got a great jump, and at first I didn't think he was going to be able to run it down. Scott Kazmir, ooh boy, thank you very much.
Two and one. Ball hit on one high hop to Dozier. One away. That'll bring up Giambi. Monday, don't miss an all-new episode of Mission October, as they give you an inside look at the Cincinnati Reds as they battle the Pirates in a preview of their National League wild card game with home field advantage on the line. Mission October, Reds October, is Monday only on Fox Sports 1. To find Fox Sports 1 on your provider, go to foxsports1.com now. Giambi at the plate, and he takes up and away, ball 1. Crossed up Fryer a little bit there, ball 1. Strikeouts the first time through the batting order for the Indians. Not so much the second time. Giambi with a swing and a miss. 1-1. First time through the order, 5 strikeouts. And then DeVries had a couple of strikeouts early in the 4th before Kipnis' single and Santana's home run. Two and one. Indians in search of a veteran player to help lead an otherwise pretty young squad, and Giambi has done a great job with that. Beyond the 185 batting average, awfully big hits. 3-1. 2 walk-off home runs against the White Sox here earlier this year. A big 3-run home run in the 8th inning that tied a game against the Twins.
See Yan Gomes, Jason Giambi, all members of the Goon Squad.
Strike call, 3-2.
Goon Squad, a group of Indians players that kind of nicknamed themselves. They're not everyday guys, but they're guys that get in there and made big contributions this year.
3-2. High drive to right center. Presley retreating on the track, makes the catch. To get more on the Goon Squad, let's get an explanation from Nick Swisher.
Look at these dudes right here, This is one of the greatest things that has happened here in Cleveland this year. It's so amazing.
So angry he has a blue
These
shirt
guys
on.
have created a group, and it has caught on so much, and it's just been one of the best things ever because they take pride in it. And in a situation like that with these guys, they're not in there every single day, but I think that's what the Goon Squad is, ready at the drop of a bat.
What about Swish right now?
Two down in the 5th. Bouncer wide of 3rd. What was your experience? It's easy for a baseball team to have fun when they're winning, but sometimes you watch the Indians this year, it almost seems like it's a different cause and effect that they're winning because they're having fun.
It's easy to have fun when you're winning, and I think what they've done, and Terry Francona has created this environment. They never got too high or too low, and even when they were struggling, which was a time in August, the way they got through that was, let's just keep our heads above water,
and get to September. And so it's never this like, oh, woe is us. Oh, we're in dire need. And you know, the personalities on the ball club, especially a guy like Giambi, who I mentioned earlier in the show, has been at the top of this game and at the bottom of this game. And the experience, the maturation, the knowledge that he can bring, you can't teach him.
Strikes to Gomes. Base hit to center. Last year, the Indians thought they were getting a backup catcher in Yan Gomes, but instead he's come over and taken over the regular catching duties. It's been quite a story.
He's really done a great job. And you know, one of the things that really made a difference for him was spring training. He had an opportunity to go play in the WBC, play for Brazil. Instead, he stayed back with the organization and opened up some eyes, was able to get acclimated to the pitching staff, learn some things. It's allowed him to have a successful year.
Pitcher's up high. Katie Witham has some more insight as to Yan Gomes and his contributions to the Indians this year.
Dick, he's done it both behind the plate and up at the plate. He told me earlier in the season the biggest reason he was having so much success at the plate was Terry Francona said, look, you're not getting consistent playing time. I'm just expecting you to really perform behind the plate, so it took some pressure off of him. But lately, he's definitely been in there getting more consistent playing time. He has one of the fastest pop times that Sandy Alomar said that he's ever experienced before in terms of throwing guys out. He said that he's even clocked him at 1-7.
Katie, talk a little bit about the drill they do out at second base with the catchers.
Well, the biggest reason Yan Gomes has been able to throw out as many guys as he has lately, Eric, is because not only does he have very quick feet and good footwork behind the plate, but Sandy Alomar has a drill that they do during warm-ups, BP, actually, where he has both of his catchers, Yan Gomes and Carlos Santana, out at second base turning double plays because he feels like that's the best way for them to effectively and efficiently be able to get a quick transfer and ultimately a good throw down to second.
Thank you, Katie. 2-0 now to Michael Bourne. Indians threatening again with 2 outs. DeVries got the first 2 outs in the 4th before giving up the single and the home run. Now in the 5th. First 2 outs. Gomes and Aviles, the 8 and 9 batters, each single. Bourne 0 for 2. Strikeout his last time up. Deep to the right field corner. Off the top of the padded wall. 1 run will score. A 2nd run will try to score. Dozier's throw to the plate. Save! Somehow Aviles slipped the tag of Fryer. Here comes Ron Gardenhire to protest.
All right, I'm going to say it before I see it on TV. I thought he was out.
I did too.
I thought that he got him before the runner got to the corner of the plate. Thought he had the tag down there. Yeah, he never even got to the plate. Never even touched it.
Still hasn't touched it.
Now I know they like to give the black on the strikes, but I'm not so sure the black counts as. You don't even have to get to the black. Look at this. He never even got to the plate. He was a good 2 inches from the plate. There he just missed it. I mean, guys are going to miss it. You know, and hopefully, you know, as an umpire, if you just say, this is what I saw him get to the plate. Well, if you say you saw that, there's not much you can say if you're arguing. But he never got to the plate here. Never got to the plate. We had a view a little earlier that really depicted it. I think this is the one right here. Great job in the truck. Not touching, still not touching. Do it, Jim Lynch, down in the truck. He never got to the bag, never touched it. I think you have to touch the runner 3 times before you can call him out.
Well, it's the difference between a 3-1 lead or a 4-1 lead. Beyond that, the Indians are still hitting here. They've already put together 3 2-out hits, and every one of their 5 hits has come with 2 outs in the inning. Swisher, the batter, he struck out twice, 1 swinging, 1 looking. Up and away, ball 1.
sure there are a few members of the Texas Rangers and Tampa Bay Rays that weren't excited with that call.
They give Bourne a triple. Thought it was a double and on to third on the throw, but it is a triple. Driving in 2. The wall here at Target Field has different surfaces. And Bourne's drive hit the top of the padded surface and bounced straight up in the air. The area above that is wood, and the area above that, the yellow area, that's limestone. And it hit the very top, and there wasn't much Mastroianni could do other than wait for it to come down. Nice block by Fryer, keeping the ball near home plate. 3-2. Activity in the Twins bullpen. This rally for the Indians has started rather abruptly. They're moving around out there. Twins bullpen, the area to the left.
Well, I think it's frustrating if you're the Twins or if you're Cole DeVries. Both of these innings where he's given up runs, he had 2 outs, nobody on.
And there's the first walk issue. Swisher will go to first. And again, in his start in Oakland, brief though it was, 5 up, 5 down, and then the A's put up a 5 spot in the second inning. Kipnis, just the man the Twins don't want to see with men on base. It was Kipnis's 2-out single that preceded the Santana home run. Fouled away, 1 strike.
Well, we talked about the Twins pitchers, specifically the starters. 12 times this month they have failed to pitch 5 innings. See some movement down there in the bullpen.
Anthony Swarzak pitched more innings than any other relief pitcher in the American League. Might have a chance to add to that total this afternoon. Here's a ball hook foul, 2 strikes to Kipnis. The walk to Swisher, the first allowed by DeVries. And he is approaching 90 pitches on the afternoon. Nice block by Fryer, 1-2. Bourne at third after his 2-run triple. Grounded past Colabello into right field. Bourne will score, and it's 5-1. Throw coming through to third base, and it's offline. And DeVries struggling again here in the 5th to get the 3rd out.
Kipnis just turns on this thing. It's a hard ground ball. On Gardner.
His 24th run batted in against the Twins.
Breaking ball down and just gets by the diving first baseman. That's a play that's got to be made. I watched the other night. He had trouble with a bunt play. Colabello, where it just hit off of his knee on a throw from the pitcher, but that play's got to be made.
Twins trading Justin Morneau to the Pirates, and while Morneau hasn't done much offensively for Pittsburgh, Twins really miss his defense at first base. He was a vastly underrated defensive first baseman. swing and a miss by Santana. He put a charge into one, hit it well out onto the plaza area for a 2-run home run last inning. DeVries retired the first 11 men he faced. And of the last 10, he's retired just 3.
Remember, 2 outs to start the inning, nobody on.
Straight up in the air, Loof and Fryer. And there is the 3rd inning, but not until 5 straight Indians reach, 3 of them scoring. It's 5-1. All new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Cleveland out in front now 5-1. Same old story for the Twins, giving up a lot of runs. Statistically disappointing start for Cole DeVries and an early deficit. You can see the difference between Scott Kazmir's outing and Cole DeVries.
Well, when Scott Kazmir got into trouble and he's run into it twice, he was able to get through. Not the case with DeVries.
It's the Fox Sports 1 pitcher comparison, brought to you by Fox Sports 1. Available on all TV providers. Go to foxsports1.com to find out what channel. Presley leading things off. Next ball 1, then strike 1. Presley with a single and 2 trips. Then Dozier and Plouffe to hit against Kazmir in the 5th.
Well, important for Kazmir this inning just to maintain the momentum. The previous 2 innings, the Twins have put runners on first and second with 1 out.
Didn't mean to on a roller foul. Go back to Brantley's catch at the bottom of the 4th inning. The Twins, had he not made that catch, likely would have had a 3-2 lead. Maybe it's a different game. The next time Kazmir takes the mound, instead of a 2-1 lead, he's got a 5-1 lead.
Yeah, I mean, the Twins are in a situation where they just need to do something to feel good about themselves. You know, it continues to pile on. They're not playing well. They don't get calls.
Loromone's first ball goes just foul wide of the third base bag, and the next one is tagged pretty good, but Brantley flags it down in the gap. 2-2. Jimenez will make the start tomorrow for the Indians. Popped up behind third. Cabrera with the catch, 1 down. And that'll bring up Dozier. Tonight, another college football night on Fox. It's a Pac-12 battle between Arizona and 16th ranked Washington, as the Huskies look to stay undefeated. Fox Sports is your home for college football all season long. To find Fox Sports 1 on your provider, go to foxsports1.com now. One down in the fifth. Brian Dozier 0 for 2. Dozier, Ron Gardenhire says a tough homestand, hasn't driven the ball like he did for most of the second half of the season, taking inside ball 1.
Well, he's had a nice season, but you'd like to finish strong. You'd like to take some success into the offseason. Struggled much like the rest of the ball club these last few weeks. And today he's had some opportunities. Infield fly, runners on. To head in the count 3-1.
2-1. Kazmir with any manner of health issues over the years, it's really crimped his career. Twins tried to get, I hate to use the term get lucky, do it with good scouting and a good vibe that you get from a player, but the Twins tried to do that with Rich Harden this year, another player, very good when he's healthy, but he's had all sorts of shoulder issues, and the Twins couldn't get Harden on the mound. He continued to have shoulder problems, and for the Indians and Kazmir, it's been a mutual benefit to both. It's just been a great matchup. Kazmir, a veteran, able to take a few extra days here and there when he needs it, and it's been a wonderful season for him.
Well, and that's what you need if you're going to have a successful season. You need those types of players. You don't expect a lot from one of those low risk, high reward type of guys you bring into camp, and you just kind of roll the dice, and it's worked out for Cleveland so far.
Here's Plouffe, and there is strike 1. Plouffe with a strikeout in the first and a fly ball to center in the third. When Cleveland scored a couple of runs in the top of the fourth, the Twins were able to answer with at least 1 run. They'd like to do that again here in the fifth. Solid single to left. So with 1 out, Twins have a couple of runners aboard. That'll set up the Twins off the middle of their lineup, starting with Ryan Doman.
Well, and this is the 3rd straight inning where they've had runners on first and second. This time again, you've got an opportunity, the middle of the lineup coming to the plate. Only got 1 run to show for it so far today.
Callaway back to the mound.
See Plouffe keeping his hands inside, close to his body, drives through the ball. You know, you always talk about, people talk about extension and point of contact. A lot of people like to think that extension means when you're making contact, your arms are fully extended, and that's not true. You're at your best and you're most powerful when your hands are close to your body. Your back elbow is tucked against your body. Extension happens after you make contact if you want to get the maximum drive on a ball.
That's what Doman will try to do here. He singled leading off the fourth and scored a lone run for the Twins so far. First and second, 1 down. Strike at the knees. Doman, a veteran switch hitter. Has done some catching, of course. That's his primary position. The Twins have used him more in the outfield than behind the plate, sometimes as a designated hitter, and he takes inside a ball. With a better batting average from this side of the plate. Tap foul, 1-2.
Doman does have some pop. He's got 14 home runs. See the Cleveland outfield, Michael Bourne in center, shading him a little bit to the right of second base.
His next home run will be his 100th as a big leaguer. 1-2. And a slow breaking ball got him Out number 2, and that'll bring up Willingham. Second strikeout for Doman on the day.
So far, when the Twins have had runners on first and second with 1 out, we've had an infield fly, we've had a strikeout, 2 strikeouts, I should say, and this was a third. They had 2 strikeouts, they had runners on first and second, nobody out. So when you want to talk about non-productive at-bats, I mean, you're getting a great visual today.
Willingham lifts it foul, out of play. Willingham backed up Doman's single in the 4th with 1 of his own. He's collected 3 singles to score a run last inning. Another foul, 2 strikes.
Well, working ahead 0-2. Now he's got the whole plate to work with. I should say I shouldn't even use the word plate, because this pitch shouldn't be anywhere near it. Try to expand the hitter's zone. Make Willingham chase after something.
Breaking ball off the outside corner.
So you can go back out there again, or you just come hard in. Either way, you still don't really want to catch much of the plate, if any, right now.
Blocked by Gomes. Runner will try to advance. Oh my goodness. Dozier is thrown out at third, trying to advance. Gomes blocked it, recovered the ball, and threw him out at third. Taco Bell, sometimes you've got to live Moz. And by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Let's go around Target Field, take a look at the Fox Sports 1 fan cam. Brought to you by Fox Sports 1, available on all TV providers. Go to foxsports1.com to find out what channel. Fans bundled up here a little bit. If you're wondering why we are just going to the 6th inning, it's because we had a rain delay of more than 2 hours. Interesting situation down in Arlington, Texas, where yesterday baseball moved the start of the Ranger game from a 7 o'clock start to an 11 in the morning start. If you look at Anthony Swarzak coming in for the 48th time, Michael Brantley will be the first man he faces in the 6th. Moving the game time up to an 11 a.m. because of the threat of rainy weather. A looper to left, and coming in to make the catch is Willingham, one away. And the intent being, of course, making sure that they get the game in. The last thing anyone would want, with Texas needing every win they can get, and maybe then it won't be enough, is to have a doubleheader on Sunday when there's the specter of a game 163 perhaps on Monday someplace.
Well, it turned out they got it right. If you saw Joe Nathan closing out that ball game, he was doing it in the midst of the rain. You know, probably not ideal if you're a member of the Angels, because that 11 o'clock start time in Texas, that's 9 o'clock for guys on the West Coast. It's a little early to be playing baseball unless you're getting ready for a Little League game.
1 strike to Cabrera. 0 for 2 on the day. Cole DeVries pitching 5 innings, giving up 5 earned runs, and now Twins bullpen, which has been good and overworked. And no one can speak to that better than Swarzak, who's thrown more innings than any other relief pitcher in the American League. Fouled away. Cabrera hitting, and with 1 out, Cabrera has a pretty good history of being one of the more acrobatic shortstops in the American League. Who makes that play?
Cabrera. That's it. You know, you mentioned, I mean, he really is a highlight reel, doing it all. Great body control, great body awareness, great balance.
Pitch is up. Brantley's retired. Cabrera at the plate, and Lonnie Chisenhall is in the on-deck circle. Apparently will hit for Giambi in the DH position. Cabrera strikes out, 2 down. Giambi 0 for 2. Hasn't been on the bases, so we don't believe there's any health issue as to why this change is made. Chisenhall, a third baseman by trade, and he's used here to take over the DH duties in the 6th inning.
Well, it could be sort of a situation where matchups where you've got a guy like DeVries who doesn't throw all that hard, not overpowering. Big man on the mound, get it up there a little bit.
Oh, foul, 1 strike. Giambi down to the clubhouse.
Well, he's either going with the trainer right there, if that was the trainer.
If there's an update to be had regarding Giambi's status, we'll pass it along to you. 1 strike. And now a ball. Ronnie Solov was the trainer leading Giambi down to the clubhouse. Call bang again. The first thing you think of, well, maybe Giambi's into his 40. Maybe he was on the bases and leg injury of some sort, but he appeared to be walking through the dugout just fine, and frankly hasn't been on the bases yet today.
No, had a big swing though in his last at bat, threw out deep to center field. So, you know, you go with the dreaded intercostal or oblique.
1 and 2 to Chisenhall, and another one fouled back to the screen. Pitches up 2 and 2. Problem for the Twins has not been relief pitching. It has been, and we saw it again here tonight, getting effective starting pitching. fouled back. Scott Diamond, who had kind of a breakthrough year last year, will start tomorrow. He's had a disappointing year. The opening day starter for the Twins was acquired via trade from the Phillies, Vance Worley. And Worley pitched ineffectively up here and has spent most of the season in AAA. And then beyond that, Kevin Correa has actually pitched pretty well for the Twins. The National League veteran Mike Pelfrey has had periods of time when he has pitched well. But it wasn't the deepest starting rotation to begin with. And some demotion, some injuries, and like Liam Hendricks, Pedro Hernandez, who started last night, Cole DeVries today, are left to make the starts for the balance of the season. A foul. Still 3-2.
Well, I think it says a lot about the depth of your ball club when Vance Worley is going to be your opening day starter. Now, is he a major league pitcher? Sure, but is he the opening day #1 guy? And if he is, it's going to be a long year.
Twins open the series, or the season rather, against the Tigers, and so the Tigers had their #1 guy, a guy by the name of Justin Verlander.
Yeah, Verlander versus Vance Worley. And again, it's not that he's not a serviceable major league pitcher, but your opening day guy is your staple guy.
Twins know that if they are to regain competitiveness, prominence, which is what they had not that long ago, this one driven foul, they need to address the starting pitching. Swarzak would like a chance at that. Swarzak has done very well in the role he's in, but if you're in that role, you can't help but want to either pitch later in the ball game, toward the end of the ball game as a late inning reliever, or get moved into the starting rotation. You're almost in kind of no man's land as a long reliever. 3-2. And another foul back. Swarzak won't pitch 100 innings out of the bullpen, but he'll come pretty close. Full count again to Lonnie Chisenhall. And a walk puts Chisenhall aboard. And Gomes will have a chance with a man aboard. Fox Sports Supports is proud to partner with Johns Hopkins Medicine. Johns Hopkins is at the forefront of groundbreaking research into autoimmune disorders like multiple sclerosis and lupus. Join us in the fight against autoimmune disease. Donate by visiting hopkinsmedicine.org/Fox. 2 down in the 6th. That's been a problem for the Twins here in the middle innings, getting that third out. All the damage done against Cole DeVries came after the second out. And now a walk in the 6th with 2 gone to Chisenhall. Toward the hole, Florimone fires to second. Chisenhall retired. There's the third out. No damage done. It's 5-1 Cleveland. Time now for our Just for Men Auto Stop Foolproof Stat. And 2 pinch hit home runs that walked off the Chicago White Sox. First time that's happened since Gates Brown did it for the Tigers way back in 1968, which was a World Championship year for Detroit. Josh Willingham will lead off the 6th. He was at the plate when Brian Dozier was thrown out trying to advance from 2nd to 3rd. Twins down by 4 runs, and Willingham didn't represent the tying run, but he's the most potent power threat in the Twins lineup. And the Twins made a costly out on the bases. Willingham, Colabello, and Mastroianni in the Twins' 6th. Swing and a miss. 2 strikes.
You can call it costly. I'll just say it. It's not smart baseball. It's just bad baseball. You know, these are the types of games so that you learn about your ball players. You learn about what these guys know, what they don't know. Again, the Twins, although they're out of it, they're still evaluating. They're watching their young players. They're watching how do they handle certain situations. And I get it. You can be over-aggressive and you can make mistakes. But for me, that's more of a mental mistake than it is a physical mistake.
Born out of frustration that the team hasn't been scoring runs, you try to make something happen, but still with Willingham at the plate, right. 1 swing can make it a 1-run game. 2-2 here, leading off the bottom of the 6th. And inside, that pitch has been called a strike before. Rang up Dozier and Plouffe in the 1st inning. Kazmir still out there in the 6th. His 94th pitch. Swing and a miss. Willingham strikes out. H. Brown passed away yesterday at the age of 74, one of the great pinch hitters of the game. Earlier this year, I was in Detroit when the Tigers had a reunion of the 1968 team. And Gates Brown was there. Was able to spend one last glorious afternoon with his former teammates, among them Al Kaline. Gates Brown about as good as it got in terms of getting pinch hits during his heyday in the 60s and early 70s. One down, here's Colabello. For Giambi, the home run he hit the other day, the walk-off against the White Sox, yes, his second walk-off home run against Chicago. But in the context of the pennant race, Colabello driving one down the line foul. Such a critical home run for Cleveland. They had a lead in a game they had to have. Chris Perez, the Cleveland closer, imploded by giving up 2 solo home runs to the White Sox. Perez coming off the mound, booed by everyone there at Progressive Field, and it looked like that was going to be a turning point for the Indians in the other direction, and instead Giambi steps up and turns a loss, and it would have been a crippling loss. He turned a loss into a win with 1 swing.
Yeah, and you talk about feeling good, momentum swings, all those sorts. Much more than just winning a ball game right there. It just allowed the Indians to stay inflated, to feel good about themselves. They carried that right over into this series.
Fouled back by Colabello, 1-2.
They don't win that ball game. It's one of those, here we go again. Oh, the Indians aren't going to make it. That's why, again, you look at Giambi's numbers. They're not going to jump out at you, but the impact of those numbers speaks volumes.
Giambi ended up getting the job that some thought would go to Jim Thome, who spent a big part of his career. There's a called 3rd strikeout, number 2. Thome ended up not signing with anybody this year, and now has a front office job with the Chicago White Sox. 10 strikeouts for Kazmir, and it's almost become the norm here in September for the Twins lineup to strike out at least 10 times in a game. Mastroianni struck out twice. Check swing, strike 1.
And see, those are the types of situations right there. It's 0-0. You're getting a fastball up right over the big part of the plate, and you don't even offer at it. Now you're 0-1, and you know you're behind in the count. And it's one thing to go up there and be patient, but you still want to swing at strikes that you can drive.
High. So often you see it, you take the first pitch for a strike. And in retrospect, that was the best pitch to hit. And a breaking pitch over. 2-2.
So the count's 2-2 right now, and you haven't even offered at one pitch. It just, you know, what's the purpose of having a bat?
And Kazmir misses that spot over the inside corner again. 3-2. Eric Fryer would hit next. And Mastroianni strikes out for the third time this afternoon. 5-1 Cleveland. We'll return to Minneapolis after a word from your local Fox station. Delay of nearly 2.5 hours before we finally got started, and the Indians trying to reduce the magic number to 1 with a win here today. Rangers won, Rays lost. There's a dribbler to third. Plouffe picks it up, and Avila's quickly retired. 1 down. A brief summary of what's happened here. Carlos Santana got the scoring started with a 2-run home run, and Scott Kazmir picked up 11 strikeouts through 6 innings.
And he's done a great job, and he's been in some trouble in some of the innings, but he's been able to make pitches when he's had to. Work both sides of the plate. He's thrown the fastball. He's thrown the off speed. Again, he's going against a Twins lineup very susceptible to the strikeout. He's taking advantage of it.
Kazmir given a couple of extra days. Keep his shoulder strong. Inside. 1-1 to Michael Bourne. Bourne 1 for 3. Lined a triple off the fence in right field. His last time up, scored a run later in the inning. 1-2. Indians turning it on here, and they've taken care of business in September when the schedule was a little bit softer than some of the other teams. They have absolutely owned the Chicago White Sox this year. They've beaten them 14 straight times, including 3 4-game sweeps. But there are no illusions as to who was the better team during the regular season, at least in Cleveland's matchups with Detroit. 19 games with the Tigers, the division winners, and Cleveland won only 4 times. You can look at that one-loss record against losing teams. There's a ball hit up the middle. Florimone will have to hurry. Bello can't dig it out, and Bourne will have an infield hit. Not even sure if a good airborne throw would have gotten Bourne.
Well, Florimone almost has to cut that ball off, not field it so deeply behind second base. Not sure that he would have had Bourne if he does make a good throw.
It's a single for Michael Bourne. Let's go to Katie Witham.
Guys, I just spoke with the Indians head athletic trainer Lonnie Soloff. He said Jason Giambi left today's game with cramping in his left forearm. They don't consider it to be serious, though.
Okay. Left forearm. Giambi will obviously not play the rest of this game. Might be available, one would think, to pinch hit tomorrow at best. 1-0 to Nick Swisher. Swisher, a couple of strikeouts and a walk. Zach pretty quick to the plate. Not the easiest guy to run on. 1-1.
Swisher not agreeing with Larry Vanover, the home plate umpire, on the strike zone today. Had some outside he didn't like. That one I'm not sure he liked. Well, I knew that. I knew Larry was calling that. That one was not a strike. That thing was inside. That's a strike. Look at there. Where are you going to dinner tonight? Oh, I don't know. That's not what they're talking about. Yeah, pitch off the plate, and it even takes the catcher's glove off the plate. But you knew Larry was calling that. Can't have a discussion and expect to get a call. Swish knows it. He better be swinging.
When Swisher struck out looking in the fourth, he flipped his bat at home plate. It was the last out number 2 of the inning. 1-2. Paul Popham, left side of the infield. Kloof with the catch in front of Florimone, 2 They'll be hosting the All-Star game in Minnesota next year for the 3rd time. First time was 1965, then 1985, and next year baseball's All-Star game will be here at Target Field. It will be the 5th year of the ballpark. We'll be seeing a lot of bunting decked out on Target Field next year come All-Star game time. It was a great time for a city and a franchise to host the All-Star game. Anthony Swarzak goes an inning and 2/3 and gets a couple of outs here in the 7th. in the bullpen, who's retired Jason Kipnis twice in 2 at-bats. And Ron Gardenhire couldn't make the change quick enough. Caleb Thielbar coming in. About the only Twins pitcher who's had any success against Jason Kipnis this year.
Has had a nice year so far, too. 44 innings pitched, only 24 hits.
Breaking ball off the plate, 2-0. As disappointing as the season has been for the Twins, within that you do find some success stories. Thielbar, a kid who grew up not too far from the Twin Cities, a Minnesota native. And as a situational left-hander, he's done very well. And by situational, I don't mean just left-handed hitters. He's done a pretty good job against righties too, but he's never been stretched out for more than, you know, an inning or 2 at a time. The Twins have felt pretty good about their bullpen this year. 2-1 to Kipnis, particularly from the left side. Their closer's a lefty, Glenn Perkins, who's among the best, an all-star selection this year. Veteran Brian Dunsing has both pitched in long relief and short relief, and there are the numbers. Lefties and righties both having a tough time with the rookie Caleb Thielbar. Inside, 3-1.
Doesn't throw all that hard, though. Has a deceptive motion. Don't pick the ball up well against him.
3-1. And a very tall pop-up again. This one to deep short center. Presley will call Florimon off, make the catch. Thielbar gets his man. The Indians are scoreless in the 7th. The 2014 Chevy Silverado, and by Fox Sports 1. To find your channel, go to foxsports1.com. Kramer and Eric Harris with the Indians, hoping to reduce their magic number to 1. Again, they can't celebrate today in the clubhouse. Legend Tony Oliva, one of several retired numbers here. There can be no clinching celebration here tonight because the Indians can only extend their season with a win here today. Whether it would be game 163 or the wild card, that will be determined tomorrow. Mark Zebchinski coming into the ball game to pitch to Eric Fryer. Zebchinski pitching in all 3 games of this series so far. He's one of the guys in the mix for the Indians, as Terry Francona has proclaimed. Last 3 innings, a bullpen by committee. Jaczynski may pitch in the 7th, maybe the 8th. Wouldn't rule out, I guess, pitching in the 9th, depending on the matchups.
I think that's smart, too. You don't lock yourself into or tie yourself with any specific guy for a situation. It allows you as a manager more flexibility, because I've always said that sometimes that save is the 8th inning. That's when the 2, 3, and 4 hitters are coming up. That's really the big inning. But because I have my closer and I can only use him in the 9th, it doesn't necessarily play itself out.
Down and in to Fryer. Florimon and Presley will follow here in the Twins 7th. Twins have lost 4 straight games, but they have come back in the late innings in just about every one of them to make the 9th inning interesting. That was the case here 2 nights ago when Chris Perez entered the game with a comfortable lead and probably gave up 4 runs. Twins, or the Indians rather, handed a save situation to Joe Smith, who had to get the final outs. 3-2 to Fryer, leading off the 7th. That's a leadoff walk for Jaczynski. And it will all come down to tomorrow. And it might be the Indians will be in the driver's seat, and if so, they'll have Ubaldo Jimenez going against Scott Diamond. See the other pitching matchups. Texas with a game they're going to need to have, and they've got their best pitcher on the mound, Yu Darvish.
Well, and see, that's what makes this all so interesting, because these are all like game 7s for these teams tomorrow. Yet they're going to have to turn around and play 1 or 2 conceivable game 7s, depending on how things play out. You're not doing it with your top pitcher. Makes for some fun baseball. It's fun if you're a fan. I'm not sure if I was a player in those situations, I'd be too enamored with the way things are set up.
1-0 to Florimon. It's interesting, and the 2 wild card team format in its 2nd year, and it's been lauded as building interest in more and more cities. Yet we would have these 3 teams competing for 1 spot if there were only 1 spot available. That's how bunched things are, with just 1 game potentially separating 3 teams going into the final day of the season. Florimon with a liner to short, and the ball ruled an out, with Cabrera unable to pull the ball out of his glove. Florimon, the ball right on the screws for the first out of the inning.
I like the call. He's trying to transfer, make a quick throw. Catch it now. Let's get it over there. He's got it.
And no quarrel from Ron Gardenhire, who was a middle infielder in his day. 1 down. Alex Presley, the batter. Down low, ball 1. Presley coming to the Twins in the Justin Morneau trade. There will also be a player to be named later. It'll come sometime during the offseason. Double play grounder. And Cabrera gets the out at 2nd on his own and rifles a throw to Santana. Jaczynski faces just 3 men in the 7th. This week, the MLB Fan Cave went on the road to Boston to help Red Sox closer Koji Uehara celebrate the team's postseason berth by transforming Boston into High Five City. Uehara walked the streets around Fenway Park, giving fans his best high fives. You can go to MLBFancave.com in the coming days to watch the entire video. Carlos Santana facing Caleb Thielbar. Santana homered as a left-handed batter in the fourth. Starting the scoring, making it a 2-0 ball game. Thielbar gets a called strike 1-1. The Red Sox hoping to get the home field advantage. They have that clinched if they can win tonight. Swing and a miss. It's interesting. Fox Research Department unearthing something I found fascinating in the first round of the playoffs. Since this extra round started, the division series, the home field has meant absolutely nothing. Home team is 36-36. The team with the home field advantage.
You know, and again, remember that the format has changed. Originally, that first round, 2 games at home for the wild card team to start the series, and then the next 3 on the road. Now the 2-2-1. But baseball, I don't think that the home field doesn't make as much of a difference as it does in some of the other sports. And unless you're a team that is built specifically for a certain field, which I would argue Colorado, you have to be built to win at that particular park. When you take that show on the road, probably not going to happen for them.
They had that here in Minnesota across town at the Metrodome. One of the greatest home field advantages in Major League history. A pop-up short center field. Dozier calling for it. Makes the catch because the playing surface, the whole atmosphere there was so peculiar. The Twins were able to succeed there, and a visiting team unaccustomed to everything indoors had a terrible time.
Yeah, and when you're talking about home field advantage, if that particular venue offers something unique, whether it's the Metrodome with the noise or the field surface, or even the roof, or Colorado where the ball just flies out if you tap it, those sort of things, absolutely. But you're looking at some of these ball clubs now that are in, and I don't really, the stadiums, nothing really jumps out at me.
Fenway is peculiar.
It is peculiar, but I don't think that, I'm not sure that Boston is really, the Red Sox are just built specifically for that ballpark. And if you go in there, you can't acclimate yourself to that park.
2-0 to Brantley.
I mean, you remember the St. Louis Cardinals, the Jack Clark days with all the speedsters.
Oh, yeah. Vince
playing
Coleman,
on the turf. Yes,
Willie McGee.
Right. That team, no question, they had a definite home field.
Well, across the state of Missouri, Kansas City, on the artificial turf at the Royals Stadium. Willie Wilson, Amos Otis. 2-1 to Brantley. And a strike call.
And remember one other thing, just to belabor this point, but you're talking about a 5-game series, which is a small sample size. Now you put that in a 7-game series, you'll see some differences. 5 games, again, in the whole scheme of things, that's quick.
Tapper right side. Colabello has it. Thielbar's got to hurry, and it just barely beats Brantley to the bag. Two down on a close play. Brantley nearly beat it out.
Yeah, and see, again, as a former first baseman, what I liked is I didn't want to give it to the pitcher. I'd get it and I'd try to get over there if I could, then I'd feed it to him.
The new season of The Ultimate Fighter is powerful, relentless, epic, and it's just getting started. Catch the show critics say delivers the goods. See why they call Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate the new best rivalry in sports. Get hooked on the show everyone's talking about, The Ultimate Fighter, all new Wednesday, only on Fox Sports 1. To find Fox Sports 1 on your provider, go to foxsports1.com. Here's Cabrera with 2 gone in the 8th. Swing and a miss. Cabrera 0 for 3. Indians frankly haven't done much except in the 4th and 5th innings. And all that they did after the second out. Bases were empty. In the 4th inning, a single, a home run. Bases empty, 2 out, single, single, triple, single. And just like that, it's a 5-1 lead.
Well, and also remember, this could have been or should have been a 3-1 ball game, not for the missed call at home plate.
2 strikes to Cabrera. Now a ball.
You talked about it earlier in the telecast, Dick, about this Minnesota ball club and the bullpen really being a pretty darn good bullpen. We've seen evidence of that today. So far, Indians haven't got to the bullpen at all.
1-2. In this game, the perfect contrast is this game. Terry Francona went to his bullpen when he wanted to. Ron Gardenhire went to his bullpen because he had to. And that's been the story for the Twins this year, and for the Indians for that matter too. They've gotten very good starting pitching in the second half. And so you can pick and choose where you want to put in your relievers. And you generally don't even think about that till the 6th inning or beyond. Hadn't been that case in Minnesota.
No.
2-2. Twins will finish 4th in the division. The White Sox will finish 5th. White Sox are going to have to play pretty good baseball here in the next 24 hours to avoid a 100-loss season. To center field, chased by Presley. And he chases it down on the track. A 1-2-3-8 for Caleb Thielbar. Sponsored by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. And by the makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of MLB. Catch all the action of the 2013 Major League Baseball postseason on Fox, TBS, and MLB Network starting October 1st. And it would appear, Eric Harris, as if the Cleveland Indians are headed into postseason play. They're 6 outs away from putting themselves in a very enviable position.
Yep, swinging the bats well, as they have all series so far. They've been getting good starting pitching. Still a couple more innings to go, but definitely in the driver's seat.
Cody Allen in for the 77th time. And the challenge for the Twins, and maybe even Cleveland fans might be curious if it were to happen, Nick Swisher coming in to play first base. I don't know how revealing it would be for that matter, but if the Twins were to score a couple of runs here in the 8th inning, create a 9th inning situation or a save situation for someone in the Cleveland bullpen, I think there are a lot of interested parties wondering who that guy's going to be.
Well, and I'm not sure Terry Francona knows who that guy is going to be, because again, he's allowed himself a situation where he can mix and match.
Dozier with a 1-2 count. It'll be Dozier, Plouffe, and Domit. Zepchinski, the one left-hander that Terry Francona mentioned this morning when we chatted with him. He's already been used in the 7th. Allen now in the 8th. Hard to right center field, but in the general direction of Matt Carson, who's out there for the catch. Carson briefly with the Minnesota Twins last year. So this Cleveland Indian team has persevered, and they are on the upside, 3 outs or 6 outs away, 5 outs now from perhaps being in the driver's seat, not only for a wild card spot, but then for home field advantage too.
Well, and they've done what they needed to do. They've come in, they've played against teams that they're supposed to beat, and what have they done? They come in and beat them, and they've been doing it in all facets. They've been getting the good offense. They've been getting the good pitching. You know, everybody contributes. It's not just one guy that carries this ball club, and that's what I think makes them so dangerous.
They've gotten very good starting pitching, particularly in the second half. It's not the situation you would like, having your closer situation such as it is in the final week of the regular season. But as Terry Francona says, look, we've dealt with adversity and things like this all year long. Next man in is the saying. He just doesn't know who the next man's going to be.
No, he doesn't. And again, though, that's what's allowed him to be successful, is he's got a ball club that everybody just, they go with the situation, they work through it, and they come out on top. And that's kind of been the storyline, you know, all year long. It's just work, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. And hey, talking about achieve, I know you've got the Lifetime Achievement Award tonight. Tomorrow, you're going into the Minnesota Broadcasting Hall of Fame. You know, you've had a great, busy weekend, and so congratulations to you.
Thank you, Eric. It's longtime baseball fans in this area will recognize some other names that are part of the baseball history here. Herb Carneal, the Ford Frick winner. And it's a great honor. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well deserved.
2-2 to Plouffe. And Ryan Doman will hit next. You know, one of the maybe the pivotal points of the season. Plouffe with a check swing and a strikeout. Out number 2. Well, the pivotal points of the season, and Terry Francona talked about it this morning when we visited with him. Last year, Manny Agna had this Indian team in contention early in the season, and then they absolutely fell apart in August. They won 5 games the whole month. And Chris Antonetti made it a point of emphasis in the offseason to bring in some guys like Giambi, like Swisher, who had been through the wars and could help stabilize the ship, if you will, in the event something like that happened. Here's a pop-up near third. And August was not a great month for the Indians, but they didn't completely collapse. And now look where they are in September, 3 outs away from being in a really good spot for the wild card. The World Series this year.
Right side of the plate.
That's well hit in the air to right. Track, wall, gone. And the Indians take a 1-0 11th inning lead. Tony Fernandez breaks through here.
Hardly recognized Jim Thome in the top step of the dugout there.
How about Davey Johnson, the current manager of the Nationals? He's in that Oriole dugout. Boy.
The 1997 World Series. Marlins won the series 4-3. Ryan Rayburn hitting, sliding one foul. The LCS will begin October 12th. See Minnesota pitcher Glenn Perkins, seen here on Fox. Perkins coming in for the 61st time, but not as many save situations as the Twins would like in September. 1-1 to Ryan Rayburn.
Now look at Davey Johnson. I mean, that's what the playoffs will do to you. You know, you just, oh my goodness gracious. And that's the politically correct line.
Fouled back. 1997, we mentioned the Marlins won the World Series, managed by Jim Leland, who also hopes to get back there. Leland and the Tigers clinched here Wednesday night. Clinching the American League Central. Joe Smith warming up. Looks like he's going to get the 9th inning.
He's your closer today, right?
That's right. Perkins gets a strikeout of Rayburn, 1 down. That'll bring up Yan Gomes. Twins have, as we mentioned with Ron Gardenhire, they have faced 3 contending teams in a row to wrap up the season. And on the final day of the series last weekend in Oakland, the A's clinched the American League West. In the final game of the series here with Detroit, the Tigers clinched the American League Central. And now it looks as if on the final day of the regular season tomorrow afternoon, the Indians will at least have a chance to clinch a wild card spot. And if they can finish out the win here tonight, perhaps home field advantage.
Well, no question the Twins are getting an opportunity to watch and see how other teams celebrate. You put that in your memory bank, and you know that's what you strive to do as a player.
Inside again, 2-0.
To get to that postseason, to have an opportunity to play in October. And again, it's not always the best team that's going to win the World Series. It's the team that's playing the best. It's the hottest team. Doesn't mean you're the best team that year, but it means you got hot at the right time.
Liner to Florimon, out number 2. And in the case of the first games, the wild card games, maybe a lucky bounce here or there. As exciting as it is to have a 1-game play-in format, we really just going through it for the second time. We really haven't. Well, anything can happen.
Well, you're right, and it's just like, you know, we talk about always wanting to see a Game 7. That's it. Well, as Michael Bourne put it, these wild card games, that is Game 7. That's Game 7 to kick off your playoffs.
So much drive, though. 162 games it's going to take in the American League to determine the 2 teams. And there will be celebration for 2 teams tomorrow. Then the harsh reality that only one of them is going to be around at the end of the week. 1-0. Swing a foul off the mask of Fryer. 1-1. Fryer using the hockey style mask. Had a chance to talk with Sandy Alomar, bench coach for the Indians, about protective equipment for catchers these days. Sandy's not a big proponent of the hockey style mask. He'd like catchers to wear the heavy iron mask like was prevalent back in the days when he played. Fly ball to center, and a 1-2-3 top of the ninth for Glenn Perkins. We'll see if Joe Smith can cut the Twins down in the bottom. between Arizona and 16th-ranked Washington as the Huskies look to stay undefeated. Fox Sports is your home for college football all season long. Find Fox Sports 1 on your provider. Go to foxsports1.com now. This is not a save situation going into the start of the bottom of the ninth. It was not here 2 nights ago either. And the Indians brought Chris Perez in, and he gave up 4 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. It became a save situation for Joe Smith, who will pitch the bottom of the ninth, or at least start the bottom of the ninth with a 4-run lead.
May not be a save situation, but as important a game as there is, because if the Cleveland Indians do hold on and win this ball game today, it assures them of playing once the season ends.
Indians win here today, there's no way their season ends tomorrow. The worst that could happen is there's a tie for one of the wild card spots, and there's a game 163. 1 strike to Willingham. Now when Smith came in, Indians were leading 6-5. He gave up a leadoff single and a follow-up walk, and the Twins had the tying run at second with 2 away, and then Oswaldo Arcia struck out against Smith. Smith ended up picking up the save. 2 strikes to Willingham. Single in 3 trips. And a breaking ball got him 1 down. One down, and that'll bring up Colabello. Michael Bourne wagging 1 finger. And if the Indians get 2 more outs, that'll be Cleveland's magic number.
Another tough day for Twins hitters, 13 strikeouts. You know, and that's something that really needs to be addressed, whether it's the composition of the team, whether it's the philosophy. It's just too many unproductive outs.
In case of today's lineup for the Twins, the 9 players, only Plouffe, Doman, and Willingham have spent a full year in the major leagues. So with that inexperience, naturally come more strikeouts. But as the Twins move forward and they want to distance themselves from what they've seen this year at the plate, you're right. They've got to have better 2-strike approaches. There's Colabello with 2 strikes. And back to the mound. Smith over to Swisher, 2 down. And now for the Burger King play of the game, brought to you by Burger King, where taste is king. And Carlos Santana sent one out beyond the flagpoles. 2-run home run that started the scoring in the 4th.
One of the few pitches that DeVries left over the middle part of the plate. Then he was cruising, was throwing relatively well, hitting corners.
Chris Parmalee hitting for Darren Mastroianni, who struck out swinging 3 times. Down and away, ball 1. He looks really uptight about tomorrow's start, doesn't he? Has a chance to pitch the Indians into the postseason.
Well, they've got a little bit more rope to work with. They could be a game up if this out is recorded.
To center, Bourne waits. And a big day for the Cleveland Indians. They win again. And they're the only wild card challenger with 91 wins on the season, which means a lot of things can happen tomorrow that'll push them over the top, get them into the postseason, and it won't take that much more than that to give them home field advantage.
But for the first time in a long time, probably all year, they control their own fate as far as playing, going into the postseason, playing in the wild card. They win tomorrow, they will have the wild card game. They don't win tomorrow, could be very interesting. Could work its way into a 3-way tie, possibly, depending on how things work themselves out.
Well, you have to admire Cleveland playing the way that they have in the month of September. They are doing this year what the Oakland A's did last year.
Yeah, they've done what they've needed to do. They've won games that they were supposed to win. Games that they weren't supposed to win, they've been able to come back, battle. Again, we go back to the big home run by Jason Giambi a couple nights ago. the Indians have done everything they need to do to get into the postseason and make a mark in the postseason.
They will send in September their best pitcher on the mound tomorrow, trying to complete a 4-game sweep over the Minnesota Twins. Final score, 5-1 Cleveland. Next on Fox, it's a Pac-12 battle as Arizona travels to Washington to take on the Huskies. For more information on today's game and the latest, go to foxsports.com on MSN. For Eric Harris and Katie Whitlam, Dick Braver saying so long from Minneapolis. You've been watching Fox